Welcome to Wisdom from the Mountain, a podcast about intuition, spirituality, and following your path. I'm your host, Tara Alexandria. I'm a psychic medium, intuitive guide, and healer. I'm here to support you to live from your intuition and find true healing and authentic growth. Thank you for being here and for your willingness to live your best life, for yourself and for the world around you. Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much if you have subscribed to this podcast, if you've shared this podcast. I recently saw an increase of where my podcast is being listened to, and that was just really exciting for me, having a pretty small podcast at the moment like I do. It was cool to see listeners popping up in Australia and New Zealand and South Africa. So thank you so much again for being here. Today, I'm really drawn to talk about the body and intuition. The reason that I want to talk about this first is because I so often have people come to me who don't know how to tap into their intuition. They don't know how their intuition speaks to them specifically. They don't know how to trust when it's saying yes, when it's saying no. And there's a lot tied up in it of having this sense of it not being real, it not being trustworthy, and of it being imagination. And that's fine. And it's also normal. But I think it's so important to get into a good relationship with your intuition, with your body, with your sense of decision-making from a feeling place rather than from a place of logic, right? And there's so much out there to learn about when it comes to intuition. There are a lot of resources out there. There are tons of ways to learn to access your intuition, to get closer to that self-understanding. But what I often find is that the resources that are available are actually more confusing, or they make us feel like we just should be able to do something if only we could, pay more attention to our gut, or just really center into that feeling that is supposedly telling us something. But the problem with this is, if you haven't learned how to listen to the language, there's no way you can read it. And if you are working with an instrument, which is your body in this case, that is out of tune, there's really no way that you can hear it correctly. So today I want to focus in on the body, because the body is your first place of intuition. It's what intuition comes through. It's the way that the world communicates with you. It's the way that you take in information. It's the way that you understand the processes of life itself all around you in your daily world, but also the processes of spirit talking to you, of your own spirit talking to you, of that sense of intuition, of body knowing. And if the body isn't in a good place, the intuition can't be in a good place. So if you're a member of my email list, you will already know from my email out to you last week that I recently found out that I'm having a lot of problems with my adrenal glands. A lot of us in society have adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion, and it's because we're under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. In our society today, we don't always have really good ways of uplifting ourselves, supporting ourselves, getting into a state that is not stressed out. We don't always have a good understanding of how to channel stress in a positive way. There's a TED Talk on that, and I will find it and link it beneath this podcast because it's very good. But the cortisol levels in our body and the stress that we are under is often just going up across the population. For me, it's from a history of PTSD and physical trauma, and I have not been able to give it the attention that it's needed for a while. And a lot of that is just from going from a complete change of lifestyle. So when I was studying acupuncture, I would get acupuncture probably 2 times a week because I worked at our school's clinic and my appointments were free. It was wonderful. I was always there. I always had a friend to work on me, even if I wasn't getting a proper appointment. And there's just this wonderful support that you walk into when you step into a program like that, and you can really immerse yourself in it. And when I stepped away from this, I didn't really notice, but I cut the body care, the attention that my physical body was getting, probably even more than in half. I get chiropractic adjustments, and I walk every day to calm my nervous system and keep my intuition flowing. But the attention that you get when you're getting acupuncture, when you're getting massage, even when you just have a partner and you're cuddling with them, there is so much going on to create a really stable chemical system in the body. And the reason that this is so important is because our bodies are built to always move toward an equilibrium. Our body is always striving to be at equilibrium. If one thing is happening in the body and it starts to bring it out of balance, something else in the body will be triggered to try and bring it back to center. In the body, the neurotransmitters, the hormones of your body, everything is deeply affected by stress. It's also very important to understand that there are positive ways to deal with stress, which I already mentioned, but so many of us just don't have the understanding or even the luxury to positively deal with stress. And so when our system is subject to these high levels of whatever it may be, in my case, I have PTSD. So I have flashbacks to physical traumas that I've experienced and a lot of fear in my body that I generally handle through meditation. And I generally have a great handle on it, but my body is not reflecting that. My mind is reflecting that, but my body is kind of on this slope, this rising slope of stress and issues that are like a little traffic jam of problems inside of my system. Meditation is an incredible tool. It is something that I will always use, that I'm actually going to increase and use even more. It's something that we can really rely on to deal with stress in a positive way, to help ourselves, to support ourselves. But what is so important to know is that there are other factors that you need in order to get your body stable, and from that stability, to let your intuition flow, to be in touch with that part of yourself that just knows, that can flow through life, that can just trust. And so I just want to talk about the little high points of why this is. And I'm relating it to what's called the Shen in Chinese medicine. I'm sure that I've mentioned this before, but it might have been on an Instagram Live rather than my podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and just give you a quick little overview here, very, very brief. The Shen in Chinese medicine is the heart spirit. And in Chinese medicine, the different organs of the body are explained in such a way as having different spirits, having different functions, and having a different level of consciousness. The heart spirit is the high level of consciousness within the body. It's the part of the body that can process all other information, that knows what emotion is, and can actually put that into meaning in the body. And it's what governs our psyche, our psychological stability. If there is psychological instability or a psychological problem, this is called an issue with the Shen. And your acupuncturist would treat you from this perspective. They would treat you with herbs and with acupuncture points that are directly related to what's called stabilizing the Shen. So the Shen itself, this spirit of the body that's responsible for interpreting what's going on in your reality, it is responsible for understanding information. And this is like from reading to touching things and understanding what they are to what we actually see and feel and know as actual tactile or viable information from the world. But what it also does is it's able to help us understand information that we take in that is through the psychic senses. The psychic senses have not truly been proven or recorded because the psychic senses are another level that we haven't yet gotten to with science. I did meet a woman when I was living in LA who worked at the University of California at Davis, and she was responsible for these experiments that they were running to test psychic function. And she told me to never believe that there wasn't any evidence for psychic functioning. She said, there is, we just don't understand it yet. She said, science has no way to look at, to measure, to understand time, and psychic senses work across time. And so because it's this completely foreign thing to measure, it's difficult to put down on paper. And after hearing this validation, I just, I really felt like my own psychic senses made more sense to me. I began to understand that it was okay that I wasn't hearing actual words all of the time when I knew something when I was working with clients, or that I couldn't actually see a person that I was working with spirit to bring through in mediumship. When I couldn't say, your grandfather looked like this, and explain it visually, I still knew, okay, I'm channeling this information, I'm bringing this information through. It's something that we just can't understand yet, and that's okay. I just have to do my best to connect with it in the best way that I can. And what I found in order to stretch my intuition and to really grow it to where I always trusted it and doubt didn't rush in and I could just really connect in the highest way for me, it really stretched in two directions. The first direction, of course, was getting quiet. I've said before that my work was sort of born from this period of really deep meditation on a daily basis. My practice went for about an hour a day, sometimes more. And that quietness, that quiet place, helped me to process a lot of memories and a lot of psychic pain and kind of move that through me to where I began to make space for more information to come in so that I could work with clients, so that I could have a highly functioning psychic ability. But then there was this other direction where, especially for myself, when I would go on long walks, which I love, when I would go work out or go dancing, I knew things for myself that were right. I knew how to make decisions that I hadn't been able to figure out just sitting still. I knew how to move through my own creative blocks. I knew how to come out of my shell in a way that was just this fresh, new way that I hadn't allowed myself ever before. And it was movement that was bringing it forward. So diet and exercise, I see as a very short-term way of accessing your intuition for yourself. It brings forward your creativity. It gets you flowing. It gets your energy flowing. A big reason for this is because it gets the chi and the blood in your body moving through you so that all of the different spirits in your body are fed appropriately. They're given this kind of boost of energy, of chi and blood supply. But long term, diet and exercise support things like healthy neurotransmitter levels, healthy hormone levels, and ensuring that your vitamins and minerals are appropriate to what it is that you need. If you become deficient in something, it is going to knock off something else in your body. And over the long term, you may not even notice it, but you will begin a sort of decline. And there's this moment, I feel, where you notice something is different, something is off. But what's wild is because something is different, because something is off, it can sometimes be hard to pinpoint because our intuition doesn't have the grounded basis of healthy chi and blood supplying it. What I see as one of my biggest jobs when I'm working with you personally is centering you in your intuition. So if you come in for a session with me, we're going to look at your life picture. We're going to look at your concerns right now. We're going to look at this snapshot of your next steps and how you can best support yourself at this time. That is essentially what we're doing. But the bigger picture, the longer view is that I have to make sure that you are centered in yourself enough that you can hear your internal guidance, that you can hear what you need and when, that you are really listening to that internal call of your soul, of your spirit, that you can take in information and your Shen can understand it. If there's something off kilter there, it's my job to notice it, to see it, and to bring it to your attention. It's my job to point you in a direction toward what will bring that back online for you. And it's so important to me because for so much of my life, I really squashed my intuition. I did not listen to it in my personal life. I always thought that other people knew better than me. And the biggest problem here is that I rejected myself. I rejected my own ability to hear the truth, to hear what I needed and trust it. So when you're feeling disconnected from your intuition, when you're feeling like you just can't hear what's right, it's so important for you to first look at the body. First look at the body. Of course, I love meditation. Of course, I love getting quiet and journaling and figuring things out. But if your mind, your Shen, is not clear enough to figure it out, if your body doesn't have the support that it needs to be in this beautiful equilibrium of chemicals, then there's no way for you to get that clear signal to come in 100% of the time, or at least 90% of the time, which I think once you're nurturing your intuition for a while, you should get to. You should get to that feeling of, I'm pretty on about 90% of the time. Your intuition is something that you're building throughout your life. It's something that you have to put time and effort into sometimes because it takes work to take care of these bodies. We live on a planet that takes work, that is a very physical world. And your physical body is what all of your information flows through. You are not in the spirit world, you are in the human world. So take it from me. Do not put doctor appointments to the side. Do not put physical care for yourself to the side. And just be really aware of when you start to feel that you need help with something. Get the support you need, get the people you need around you to get back into alignment with your body, with your mind, and with your spirit. I'm sending all my love and support your way.